What's going on, bee herders? Hey, I thought I'd take a minute this morning before we get crazy extracting about 300 gallons of honey to give you my thoughts on something I see floating around out there all the time on can I uncap my honey with a heat gun? The answer is yes. We'll give you our thoughts on it here in just a second, so stick around. Uncapping with the heat gun. Can we do it? Well, yeah, but before we get into that, let's talk about the different ways honey can be capped. This is kind of your classic textbook frame of honey that everybody kind of imagines. Beautiful white cappings. This is dry capped honey. All that means is that there is a pocket of air between the wax capping and the surface of the honey. That's what gives it this beautiful white powdered sugar look. This is kind of crazy here. This is wet capped honey. Same wax capping, however in this case, the wax capping is laying directly on the surface of the honey. Almost as like you took a piece of plastic wrap, filled a pot full of water and laid it across the top of that water. You get that look versus suspended across the top of the pot where there was air between the cap and the water. It'd be a little bit different look. I can uncap both of these with heat. Everybody freaks out when you start talking about heat and honey. Oh no, you're going to heat the temperature. Listen, physics is going to tell you that a few seconds of heat across the face of this is not going to affect the characteristics of the entirety of that honey. Maybe just a tiny amount that's right on the surface, but when we're talking about a depth of honey, 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick, you're not going to heat that entire volume of honey up enough to damage it. But that being said, how it affects or how it's done on dry cap is going to be significantly different from how it's done on wet capped honey. So we're just going to pass the heat gun over the surface of this wet capped honey here. Let's adjust things here. And all we're going to do is superheat that air behind that cap super quickly, and it's going to pop that wax capping. Really never going to heat the honey at all, just that air, and that air is going to expand rapidly and pop that cap. We'll let our heat gun get warmed up here. And you can actually see it's just popping that cap open, popping that cap open. Now that honey is not getting heated to a level that we're worried about. Boom. Uncapped. But that's dry cap. And you'll notice that that wax did not melt and reform over that cell. Maybe in a couple of instances it did. So there's no cappings to deal with. Super quick, super easy way to do it, especially for a small scale beekeeper. But now that's, again, dry-capped honey. This honey, it's kind of wild. Same bee, same hive, wet cap, dry cap. Right here on the same frame. Why they do it that way, I don't know. But now we've got a problem to deal with here, and that's the fact that that wax is laying directly on that honey, so it's going to have to come to a higher temperature in order to get it melt. And you'll see there's a different characteristics in how that capping is going to melt away and not pop like it did over on the dry cap. Yeah, it's taking longer. And look what happens. Right there. You can see that that wax cooled and sealed right back across the top of that frame of honey, or those cells of honey. All right, so dry cap, still uncapped, still ready to go, could go right in the extractor. Wet capped, right up here in this section, that wax cooled and sealed right back across the top because it's laying directly on the honey. So can you uncap with a heat gun? Well, yeah, absolutely. You're not going to really affect, at least in dry cap, the temperature of the honey very much. In wet cap, you might a little bit because you're going to keep that temperature on it a lot longer. But it can be done, and it's no big deal. So I'll leave it to you to decide what you want to do. Till next time, keep on keeping on.